their own son. If we know that we are suffering, that's the first victory. If we think that we are okay, that's the biggest madness. Because people are not okay. I think you all know that. People are not okay. They fight. They are harmful. Perhaps you are harmful. As I told you, they are not okay. Sometimes they are okay. Sometimes they are not. Therefore, if they can understand that they are not okay, they will find a solution for that. But if you think that you are okay, you won't find a solution. But if you are not okay, then you will face many problems. Then you have to suffer. Everybody has to suffer because of that ignorance. At least if you can understand that you are not okay and you have a problem, then you will find a solution for that. I think you all know that you have a problem, that's why you all are here. That's the biggest victory, I think. At least one of the biggest victories. Because you know that you have an issue and you try to find a solution for that. That's what happened to me. I had everything I needed, but I saw that I have an issue. Therefore, I wanted to find a solution, then I found it. Because when you know that you have an issue and you will find and you will seek for it, and if you seek for it, you will find it. Seek and you shall find. You have an issue because you have attachment. You always get attached to things. Attached to things and people, which means beings. You use a word called love. Therefore you always say that I love my family, I love him, I love her. And from time to time, you say that I love chicken as well. But it has a different meaning, I think. You never love that bird. I love chicken when you say that. However, you always use that, I love. That means you get attached to that. Unbeknown to you, I think. You don't know the reason. Somehow you love them. If I ask, why do you love your son? Why do you love your daughter? You don't know that, but you love them. You love them means actually you want them, and you want to associate with them, you want to see them, you want to hear. That is called association. You want to touch them, finally. You want to think about them, that's the first thing you want to do. You want to think about them. That's called association. That's how you associate someone. You always have someone to associate. You always have things to associate with. You always have things and beings, and you love them, and you want to associate with them. You can understand that you have an attachment with them. That attachment is created unbeknown to you. Therefore you feel that you love them, you want them, you like them. And because of that, you want to protect them. Because of that, you are afraid of them, afraid of losing most of the time, because you want them, you like them, you love them. You always feel that you love them. First of all, you love yourself. And perhaps some people, you have been taught and told that you should love yourself first. Didn't you read those books? You have to love yourself first. That means you should believe that. You should believe your existence first. After that, you need to love that existence. Somehow, we love ourselves and we love others, we love things. That means, unbeknown to ourselves, we have that feeling when we see something, we have that attachment. We don't know the reason, but we have that attachment, and we get attached to those things, and we try to protect them, try to associate with them. Then this becomes our life. Apart from that, I think you don't do any other thing. You are so busy with those things, therefore, perhaps you don't have time to practice the path. Most of you, not only you, but also everyone in the world, they are too busy. They are too busy, therefore they don't have time to practice the path. Then if I ask all of you to come here and stay with us and start practicing the path, perhaps you will come up with 1,000 excuses. Then when we calculate those excuses, then we will see that you don't have time, actually. You can say that I'm so busy because I have to associate with other things. I don't blame you, ladies and gentlemen. You have to do that. You have to do that. That's the issue. First of all, I want you to understand that you have an issue. After that, you need to understand that issue. After that, we will find the solution for that. There is an issue. Because of that issue, you suffer. And you have a restless life. And perhaps you don't know the meaning of the life, because you didn't have any chance to experience the life. Jesus Christ once said, the life. That's why when we discuss about Dhamma, we need to understand that. We need to understand the issue. And attachment is created. You can see that attachment is created, but you don't know the reason. And most of the time you think that you get attached to these things. That's why you always say that I love this pen. You tell that you love this pen. You love this pen. There is a reason behind that. If you listen to this and understand this and start practicing, you won't say that word anymore. I love this. Which means you love this. You never say that. You never use that word, love. Then you won't have that. You won't have any issues after that. But still you have to pay the rent. That's a different story. If you pay the rent, you have to pay the rent. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about your mental issues. Mental suffering is the biggest. People are suffering. Because mental suffering, try to understand this. When you have to pay your rent, you have to pay the rent monthly. When you have a mental issue, how frequently you suffer? Monthly, yearly, annually? How frequently? You know the answer. I don't have to say the answer. The mind is created 1 billion times perhaps within a second. That means you continuously suffer. First of all, when you think about yourself, you suffer. If you feel that you love yourself, you suffer. If you feel that you love your existence, that means you have to live That means when you have to live, then you are afraid of losing your life. Therefore, you always try to protect your life. That's why you always think that I need to protect myself. You can feel yourself. You try to protect yourself. If someone says that there is a bomb here, then the very first thing you get into your mind is, I need to protect myself. At that time, that self exists. When you feel that, myself, then you try to save yourself. That's the very first thing you do. You try to save yourself. In that case, you can see you want yourself. That means you strongly believe that you exist. You believe your existence. Therefore, you try to protect it. When you see this object, you always believe that this is an object. And you love it. And you need to protect this. When you try to protect this, you have to protect yourself and this, both. Therefore, when there is a bomb here, then you will protect yourself. And if you have time, then you will take this one and run. Because you love this. Then you love yourself and you love this. You love yourself and you love this. You love yourself and you love your daughter, your son, mother, father, those beings and these objects. You can't stop that. It happens. It happens, and because of that you suffer. You suffer means suffering is created. Suffering is also, mental suffering is also a process. That process occurs and suffering generates. Suffering forms. But the Buddha gave us a solution. Not a solution actually. The solution. He gave us a solution. The only solution is understanding. You never believe this. We just need to do only one thing. Understanding. I can prove that. Understanding is the solution. Therefore, don't worry about your age. Perhaps your body is old and weak. Don't worry about that. Because you don't have to run a marathon. You don't have to do that. You just need to understand. When you understand, everything will be fine. And you never believe that until you realize this. And I'm going to help you to realize this. The only problem we have is ignorance. That's the only problem. Ignorance. That means we have wrong knowledge. And we use that wrong knowledge. I can't say that it's wrong wisdom. If it is wise, it can't be wrong. Therefore, it shouldn't be wisdom. Actually, it's the wrong knowledge. But it is established in the mind. Therefore, the mind always uses that knowledge. Therefore, the mind always suffers. Therefore, now you have to be the Salvation Army. You have to help your mind to understand this. Otherwise, it suffers forever. This is the chance. Because we can understand the Dhamma fully. Day by day, we realize that this becomes so easy. So easy means it becomes very clear. We don't have any doubt. You never believe this. We don't have any doubt. This is crystal clear. The Dhamma is crystal clear. Anyway, the Buddha's Dhamma is crystal clear. But for us, to us, It should be very clear. And it is clear. Therefore we know the reason we suffer. I can guarantee that. Therefore, I want you to understand this and start practicing. Then you will realize that and you will experience this. Until you experience this, you can't become an ambassador of the Dhamma. Try to experience this. Listening is not enough. Try to experience this. We don't have to change the world if we can see the issue. We don't have to lay a carpet all over the world if we can wear a pair of slippers. If you try to solve worldly matters, you are going to carpet all the world. Everything, everywhere. You don't have to do that. It is very expensive and time consuming. Why should we do that? Just wear a pair of slippers. Then wherever you go, you have a carpet under your foot. You are safe. That's the teaching of the Buddha. Therefore, we don't have to deal with any other people. You only have to deal with the Dhamma and your teacher, which means your Kalyana Mitta. That's how you practice. When you practice this, you will realize, when you realize this, you will become an ambassador. Then others will follow you. Therefore, listen to this, understand this, start practicing, then be an ambassador. Have a happy life. That means have a serene life, serene lifestyle, or serene mind. That's what you need to do. Because if you love this, that means actually your mind is vulnerable. That's why you love something. And it is destitute. That's why it wants to associate with something. And first of all, that idea comes to the mind. I love this. When you eat something, that idea comes to your mind. I love this. I love this. I love when that idea comes to your mind, then the mind gets attached to that. Then after that, the mind wants to associate with that. There are 6 ways to associate with. Then the mind starts using those 6 ways to associate with that object. Don't ever think that at that time your mind is so serene. If you have a serene mind, then that mind won't say, I love something. Therefore remember this. If you feel you love something, you are vulnerable, and you will suffer. That doesn't mean that love is bad. If you love someone, that is bad. I told you before, you have to be the love of the world. Then it is okay. If you love someone, means you want to associate with someone. You want to associate with something. That means the mind is vulnerable. And it doesn't have energy. It is shaky. It is turbulent. It's not serene. That's why you can't stop that. Let's assume that you love singing. Then you try to sing all the time. Then if we ask, please stop. How would you feel? Now you can't stop, you want to sing. Perhaps you start singing in your mind because you love. You can't stop those things. That means you need to keep associating with those things. But let's find out the reason behind that. There's a reason. You believe that this is an object. This is an object. If I say, because of that you suffer, perhaps you need more explanation. Because of that you suffer. You believe that this is an object, then I would say this is the reason behind your suffering. You believe that this is a being, this is the reason behind your suffering. Therefore, the Buddha asks us to understand about this object, about this and this, everything. When we understand that, we will find the solution. Let me prove that. Now, this is very important, ladies and gentlemen. This is very important. This Dhamma is very important. I want you to understand this fully and practice. Don't miss these things, because this is not a movie. If you miss a movie, okay, you can find another, or you can watch another one. That's fine. But these are very important. This is the truth of your life and truth of the world. If you don't miss this. Every week when we are gathered, we talk about these things. And last week, if you couldn't practice the path, then today you will find another fact, something new. But is it the same thing, but something new? Then if you won't practice this, then next week, if you come here, then you will find another one. You will get another fact. These are facts, knowledge. But these things are very important. I can feel that it is very important. I think you are so lucky to have these things. Because we are not talking about worshipping or anything. We are talking about the truth, and we are going to practice this. We are not going to worship gods or anything. We are going to be gods. Who's going to bless God? You always say that God bless you. Now who's going to bless God? Then if you need a blessing, you are a human being. You are a puny, tiny human being. But if you don't want a blessing, you are God. We are going to practice to become God. If you don't suffer, and you know that everybody is suffering except God. Because that's the reason. You always go to God and say that, oh, I'm suffering, please help me, please give this and give that. And I don't have that, therefore I'm suffering, please give that. God is not suffering, but you are suffering. Then if you stop suffering, then you will become God. Then let me help you to become God. But you have to practice the path. Then you will become God. Not almighty. We don't want almighty. We just need to have a certain mindset like God, apparently. In order to do so, we have to create the kingdom of heaven in your heart. Then you can reside there. Who reside? in the kingdom of heaven? God. Therefore, let's create this. Therefore, this is very important. Therefore, I want you to understand this thoroughly and practice. Put into practice. This is not an object. But you believe that this is an object. This is not an object. This is not a being. Let's identify this first. Here you can see some colors. As you all know, because we have been discussing these things for long now, this color is not in the pen. Actually, this color is your mind. Do you believe it? This color is your mind. I can't say that this color, but I just saw. Because color is not here. The color is created in your mind. That means color is created in your mind. Means we always draw this Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vinyana. In this case, you can see this process is the mind. When this process occurs, the color blue forms and perceived. That means when you see this color, that's your mind. That's not the pen. Let's understand one by one. Now here, when you see this pen, you see a color, but don't say that you see a pen. Do you see a pen? Tell the truth. Let's talk about the truth. Do you see a pen? No, you see a color, the color blue. That means the color blue is created, notified, identified, and finally perceived. This entire process is this. Is this means not this. Whatever you experience. That experience is your mind. And last time I think we were talking about that. That experience is experienced. That experience is created. That is the only thing that is created here. That experience. We don't need another person to experience this because experience is already created. When you see this, you don't need yourself to see this because that seeing is done. That is called viññāna. That is called perception. That perception occurs. To whom? We don't have to have a whom there. We don't have to have any person because that person doesn't have any work to do. Because that perception, it happened already. It happened already, therefore we don't need another person to perceive that. This is perception. If this process occurs, Vedana is done, Viññāna is done. That means perception is done. If perception is done, the thing, whatever it is perceived. It is perceived, then let's create another person for that. Now, tell me the purpose of this person. Can you see any purpose of this person? Let him stay there, that's it. Because he doesn't have anything to do because viññāna is perception. That is perception. Rupa is perception, or is form. That is done. That is done because it has its own causes. Because of those causes, this effect manifests. Therefore, we don't need another person to manifest this. Manifestation. I think we can't use that word for a person. We can't say that he manifests things. Something manifests due to its causes. Therefore, this Rupa manifests due to its causes. Vedana manifests due to its causes. In that case, we don't need another person to create or form anything. Even if you are here, tell me the purpose of your life. You don't need this person because Rupa is there. Rupa is an effect. Rupa manifests. This color manifests. We don't need another person to create this. Actually, who creates this? Do you have someone in your eyes or somewhere to create this color? Because you are here to witness. Yeah? You always see, or do you feel that you create colors? I don't know the level of your madness. Do you feel that you create colors? No. Then this color is created and after that you perceive it. That's how you feel. Therefore you always talk about, I perceive colors. Then who creates this? Now you can see that this is created, or this manifests. This manifests due to its causes. Therefore, actually, this Rupa is it's not an object. This Rupa is not an object. Actually, it's an incident. It's an incident, or it's an effect. I give you some time to think. It's an effect, it's an incident. When an incident occurs, we don't need anyone to create that incident. An apple falls from the tree. Who's doing that? We don't need any person to do that. It occurs. It occurs due to its reasons or causes. Therefore, here, this Rupa manifests due to its causes. Therefore, if you want to explain this Rupa, this form, there's only one theory that can be applied. That is the theory of cause and effect. Because this is an event or this is an incident. It has its own causes. The Buddha said, avidya, trishna, karma, ahara, nibbati, lakkhana. Those 5 things, you don't have to name them. A, B, C, D, E. Because of those 5 things, those 5 causes, this effect manifests. This is only a manifestation. Therefore, you don't have to work here. You don't have to form anything. Therefore, we can remove yourself from this point. And we will put it here now. Now you are going to notify it. But notification occurs. It has its own causes. It has 5 causes, and due to those 5 causes, this manifests. That means you don't have any work to do here. You don't have a job. You have to resign. Can you? If you don't have work to do here, then you need to resign. Please resign. Okay. And now you are working at here. This is sanya. It has its own causes. It's also an incident. It's also an incident, ladies and gentlemen. Please understand that. If you think that these are objects or something, that's wrong. This is an incident. This is an incident means it happens due to its causes. When causes come together, an effect manifests. That's the only thing that you can apply here. Therefore, actually you don't have a job here, therefore you had to resign. Then you come here, same thing. You come here, the same thing. Therefore, actually you don't have a job in this process. Find another job. During the entire process of your mind, you don't have any job role to do. That's why it says this is only a false sense of existence. But you always feel that. You always feel your existence. It is correct. It is correct. But that's not you. You means that's not a being. If there were a being, that being doesn't have anything to do. Because this rupa is an effect. This vijnana, this perception, is an effect. In this case, now you can see, whenever you see something, that you see means actually you, not you, but I will use you. Okay? I will use you, but it's not you. You perceive or you experience your own mind. This blue color, the color blue is your mind. This pen is not the color blue. The color blue is your mind. I want you to understand that. Don't listen to me and say, oh yes, if you say so. No. I want you to understand that. Because you all know that colors are not in the world. Colors are created in the mind. It is scientifically proven. Therefore, we all know it. We all must know, because we must learn science. We don't have to learn about our life or anything, but we must learn science. Because you had that in your syllabus. Can't you remember? But about your life, you didn't have that. Therefore, you have been suffering, but you know science. At least, let's use that. Then, colors are not here. Colors are created in the mind. Therefore, when you see a color, that is your mind. Do you believe that now? Okay. Whatever you hear, that is your mind. This vibration occurs here. This vibration exists, yes, but it's not your mind. This vibration is not your mind. Here, I make vibrations. That's not your mind. That vibration comes from these baffles. That's not your mind. But a sound manifests. That's your mind. Try to understand that. That's your mind. Have you experienced your mind? Okay, let me help you. That's your mind. That is your mind. This color, that's your mind. That smell, that's your mind. That taste, that's your mind. That touch, that's your mind. Those thoughts, that's your mind. That experience is your mind, ladies and gentlemen. Now here you can hear. You can hear what? You can hear your mind. That means actually, we can say that you can hear your mind, but actually, that's called experience. We can't say you experience, we can say just experience manifests. An experience manifests. That is it. An experience manifests. But if you don't have a person to experience that, how can you say that I like that experience? When an incident occurs, that is completely separated from the other incident. One incident occurs and another incident occurs. Let's say here, A and B collide each other, and B and C and D collide each other. Now this is an incident, this is also an incident. In that case, how can this incident say that I love that incident? But when you see two objects, and you use comparative words, you say, I love this more than that. How? Can this incident talk about this incident? But you always talk about two things. How? You always talk about love. How do you love this if you are this incident? Try to understand the logic. How do you love this if you are this incident? Who are you, ladies and gentlemen? This incident or this incident? You are not either. You are here. You are witnessing this. That's how you feel. That in this case you can see that apart from this, you feel some kind of existence. Who is witnessing this? That is called the ego. But actually, this incident occurs. When this incident occurs, you can't comment about it because that incident I can say that incident is you. Only that incident occurs. Only that incident occurs, therefore that incident can't talk about that incident. As well as that incident can't talk about this incident, next is incident. Because when next incident occurs, the first incident is not there. Was not there, it is gone. Because it has its own causes. Due to those causes, it manifests. And when causes are there, that manifestation occurs. When causes are not there, that doesn't manifest. It's not there anymore. Then how can it talk about the other incident? If you can understand this, that means if you can understand that everything that happens in the world is an incident, you will find the solution for this. Because that's the truth. We will take this and understand that. When you see this, actually you experience your mind. Apart from that, something is here. But that's not a thing. It's a process. There is an energy process, or there is a process of energy. That is not visible. That is not tangible. The mind can't experience that. That's only energy. This has that energy. Oh, this is that energy. This is that energy. This is also the same. If you think about electrons, protons and neutrons, this has the same thing as this. Therefore, actually, apart from your experience, both of them are the same. apart from your experience. If you take your experience, this is blue and this is red, then you feel that these two are two different things. Therefore, you make this an object. You name this as an object. But this is not an object. You name this one as an object because you have seen, you have experienced an object. Because you see a color that differs to this. Therefore, you think that this is blue and this is red. And when you touch, this is a little bit hard and harder than this, then you think that it has that characteristic as well. Then you can see there are many characteristics each object has, different to the other one. Therefore, you believe that this is an object. But let's take your experience out of this. When you take your experience, which means when you take your mind out of this, I want you to take your mind out of this. Take your mind differently, separately. Take your mind separately, then you will see this. No, actually you can't see that, but at least you know that this is that lump of energy we were talking about. And it is not an object, it is a process. Because we all know that energy is very active. Energy is not static, it is always dynamic. That means this energy is moving and creates that effect. You can't see this effect. You only see your mind. That's what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen. All the time you only experience your mind. You always comment about your mind. When you see my face, you said that it's so ugly. You are not talking about my face. You are talking about what? You are talking about your own mind. Because you can't see me. You can't see my face, ladies and gentlemen. It is full of energy. Can you see energy? No. Energy can't be experienced. Only colors can be experienced. Therefore, colors can be experienced. Therefore, you experience colors and you comment on it. Because in your mind, you know what is beautiful and what is not. You have those views. The mind uses those views and decide whether it's beautiful or not. You are not talking about my face. You are talking about your own mind. Therefore, if you think that, this is so disgusting, you are talking about your mind. Sometimes you plug your nose. Why? There's a bad smell. There's a bad smell. Then actually you are talking about? Of course, there is a bad smell. You are talking about what? You are talking about your own mind. That's why you can't be happy. You always try to change the world, ladies and gentlemen, but remember this. You can't change the world. If you don't like the color blue, then I will take red. Because you don't like this. I took red color. Now, you experience what? What do you experience? What do you experience? Your mind. No matter what I change, you always experience your mind. Who's your daughter? Who's your son? Your own mind. Do you like her? That liking happens there. You can't like this because you haven't seen this to like this. That's why we need to separate these things. Because we need to understand the truth. If we need to understand the truth, we need to separate these things. Now, everything is in one package. Therefore, we have to remove those things. When we remove those things, we will realize. Let's remove this. When you see this, the color red manifests, which means the color red is your mind. Let's take your mind away. Now, here, there is a process of energy. There is a process of energy which is as same as with this. The process of energy, there is a process of energy. If you take these two colors, which means when you take your mind away from this, then these two are the same, and these two are very active. You can't name this as an object. Let's talk about the water cycle. Is it an object? Let's talk about this. I move my arm. That means moving. Is this an object? If this is not an object, how do you say that this is an object? That's a wrong perception. This is not an object. This is a process. And the color which is created in your mind, which means your mind is a process. Your mind is a process, and this is a process. And you put these two together, then you will see an object. Then you think that this is an object. It happens to yourself as well. This is your body. Your body is an object. That's how you feel. Your body. But your body is not an object. It is so active, ladies and gentlemen, so active. It's not an object. Actually, how do we define an object? Normally, if something is fixed and finished, finish means if the process finishes, it's complete. If the process is complete, that is called an object. This pen had a process. This is plastic, and they had plastic seeds, and those plastic seeds were used, and there was a process, and finally, this is the final product. When the product is finalized, that is called an object. Those plastic seeds are the objects? No, this is the object because that is raw material. This is the final product. When it comes to the final product, then you name it as an object. But is this finalized? Is the process finished? No, it occurs. It occurs, ladies and gentlemen. The process occurs. Therefore, this is not an object. If this is not an object, this must be a process or an incident. This must be a process. If this is a process, there is only one theory that can be applied. That is the theory of cause and effect. If this is an object, you can apply any other theory. If you want, you can create any other theory and apply it. But if this is an incident, if this is a process, then there is only one theory That is the theory of cause and effect. That's how you should understand the world. When you understand the world, then you will be able to apply the theory of cause and effect in each and every object, which means each and every process. When you see the process, you won't see the object. When you don't see the object, you never say, I love it. Because attachment won't be created. You never get attached to anything, ladies and gentlemen. Attachment is created, attachment manifests. Attachment manifests. Then you feel that you got attached to something. Because there is no such thing called yourself to get attached to something. That's all. That is also a feeling or some kind of experience. Attachment is created. Attachment is created and you feel that you get attached to something. Attachment is created due to something. We will talk about that later. But you always feel that you get attached to something. When attachment manifests, you always feel that you get attached to something. That's why you tell that, I love it. When you see an object, that happens. Is this an object? Now use your wisdom and tell me. Is this an object? Are you sure? What is this then? What about this color then? What about this color which is in the pen? There is no color in the pen. What is this color then? The color is your mind. The color is your mind. What about that mind? Is that an object? No, it's a process. There are 5 steps the Buddha told us. There are 5 steps. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Each step is an event or is a process. Therefore, this entire mind is a process and this object is a process. Therefore, you can only find processes in the world. But you experience an object from this. Now you know that this is not an object. Before you understood this, you saw an object. At that time, what was this? What was this? Before you understood this, after you understood this, then now you know that this is a process and this is not an object. Yeah. Before that, what was this? Before you understood this, what was this? It was a process. It was a process, but you experienced it as an object. Before the Buddha's birth, what was this? Now the Dhamma is not there. Dhamma was not there because Buddha wasn't born. What was this? Process. Every time this has been a process. But the mind experienced it wrongly. Yeah? Then, when the mind experienced this wrongly, the mind saw or experienced an object. Because of that, the mind got attached to that object. Now, that attachment manifests. That attachment manifests due to this object. That is one option. That attachment manifests due to ignorance. Give me the answer. This is an MCQ. This is an MCQ. Choose one. Attachment manifests. Let's find the reasons. First reason, because of this object. The second reason, because of this process. Third reason, because of this ignorance. This has been a process, but you experienced it as an object. Okay, how do we create an object? How do we create an object? Object. How do we create an object? We need two things. One is the process as well as ignorance. Because this is a process all the time. This is a process. You can't create an object out of this if you don't have ignorance. This is a process. This has been a process. Before you understood the Dhamma, this has been a process. After you understood the Dhamma, this is a process, though this has been a process. This is a process, ladies and gentlemen. Then, you need ignorance also. Ignorance as well. Process plus ignorance equals to object. Therefore, whenever you experience an object, the mind uses ignorance. That means wrong knowledge. When you experience objects, attachment is created. You get attached to things. That means attachment manifests, or attachment is created. Attachment is created when you experience objects. But are objects real? Then how can attachment manifest? This is not real. This is real. Try to understand this. Then you will realize the entire teaching of the Buddha. This object, whatever the object, objects are not real. Actually, objects are manifestations of the ignorant mind. Yeah? Give me a support. Objects are manifestations of the ignorant mind. Then, when you see objects, when you experience objects, you get attached to something, or that object. You always get attached to objects. People or objects. Beings or objects. That means attachment is created when the mind experiences objects. But there is no such thing called object. This is an illusion. But this occurs due to ignorance. Then, who is the father of attachment? Ignorance. Because a process exists. Ignorance exists. But object doesn't exist. Therefore, by using object, you can't make attachment. Attachment can't be created by using object. By using an object, it has to use one of these two. Either a process or ignorance. Therefore, ignorance is the cause of attachment. But you always feel that you get attached to something. That's wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, attachment is a process, and that a process is done due to ignorance. That process manifests due to ignorance. Not because of you, not because of these objects. Because if attachment manifests due to objects, then we have to say that there is no such thing called attachment. Let's assume that there is a table over there. Can you see? Here, this table? Not this one. This table, can you see? Then can you see the ball on the table? If the table doesn't exist, how the ball? Then this is the object and this is the attachment. Then if this doesn't exist, what about attachment? Then, but you get attached. You feel attachment. You always say, I love, I like, I want. That means attachment exists, but object doesn't exist. I'm using this noun. Then, attachment should be a manifestation of ignorance. Because this is a process. Process can't create any attachment, because process is the truth. That is nature. Nature doesn't have any attachment. People can say, I love nature. Have you heard nature says that? I love people. No. Nature always says, I am the love. Because this is nature, process. When you understand a process, actually you understand nature. When you understand a process, that means when you understand the entire process of the world, actually you don't have ignorance. Then when you understand the process of this pen, will you see a pen or a process? See means not through your naked eye. Don't try to see that. Only in your mind, with your wisdom. Use your wisdom and try to see this. Through your wisdom you will see a process. Because when you see this color, you know that that's your mind. Then if you get a smell, then you know that that's your mind. When you touch, and that's your mind, that softness or hardness or whatever it is, that's your mind. Then what it is? This is the process of energy. And this is the process of energy, and whatever you have experienced, that's also a process of energy. Everything is a process. Then when you understand that, then will you see that object again? No. And if you don't see that object, I don't think you will love this. You will love this means that attachment won't be created, ladies and gentlemen. That's why you won't love. When attachment is created, you feel that you love or you get attached to something. Because whatever happens, the ego raises its hand to own it. The ego raises its hands to own it. That's how foolish this is. Whatever happens, it takes that. Then, when you raise your hand, ego says, the ego says, I raised it. When you move your leg, the ego says, I moved it. I don't know whether this is appropriate or not. When someone releases some gases, what happened? When your body releases some gases, okay, tell me. Why are you so shy regarding that? Because you take that into your account. When that happens, whatever happens, when it is gold, it's mine. When it is even that thing, I can't use that word, then it's mine. Then you feel so shy. Because the ego always try to own those things. Because the ego thinks that this body is, the body belongs to it. The mind belongs to it. Because the ego is the false sense of existence. Therefore, whatever happens here, the ego tries to own it. In that case, when the attachment is created, the ego tries to own that as well. That's why when the attachment is created, you always feel that you get attached to things. If you get attached to things, that means if the attachment is, or if the attachment belongs to the ego, or not the ego actually, if the attachment, or if attachment belongs to you, does it exist? Again, I had to go to Superman then. Superman's robe he wears behind or maybe yes, in his backside. Does it exist? Does it exist? No. Why? Because Superman doesn't exist. Superman, that belongs to Superman. That robe belongs to Superman. If Superman doesn't exist, that doesn't exist as well. What about this then? If this attachment belongs to you, you don't exist. There is no such thing called you or yourself or anything. Then this can't exist. But this exists. Therefore, actually, this doesn't belong to the ego. This is created due to ignorance. That's why when you see objects, this creates. That's why you love objects. When you see beings, you love beings. Mother, father, sister, son, daughter, all these people. Then attachment manifests due to those beings, which means due to ignorance. Therefore, now you can see ignorance is the issue, ladies and gentlemen. Ignorance is the issue. When you see objects, it happens due to ignorance. But if you know that it's a process, this won't be there. If ignorance is not there, you won't experience any objects as well as the ego. The answer is wisdom. What is wisdom now? Wisdom of the world. Everything is a process. That is the truth. You can apply it, and if you can't understand anything, we can discuss. Apply it. Whatever you see, apply. Try to see this bouquet of flowers. Try to see that. Try to experience it. Take your mind away from this. Then what is this? There's a process of energy. What is the difference between this one and this one? Take your mind away. What is the difference between this one and this one? Look, this is white, but what this? This is colorful. But this is just white. Is this white, ladies and gentlemen? Then why do you name it as whiteboard? Is this a whiteboard? Then name this, please. What is this? The process of energy. Is this red? No. Name this, please. The process of energy. What about this? This bouquet. Take your mind away from this. That means take all those colors, because colors are not there. Then how can you say that this is a flower even? You can't use that. This is a process of mind. This is a process. That's it. Process of energy. Wherever you see, what about this then? Then when you see this color, that is your mind. Then what is this? This is a process of energy. What about your body? I want you to understand the truth. If this is wrong, then please don't practice this. If you can understand this, practice this, then you will realize. You will realize and you will experience what we experience right now. That doesn't mean that we see a process of energy from this. Okay? I don't see any process of energy here. I only experience my mind. But I know that. Because the problem was not that process. The problem was this. Before, I didn't know that. I use I. Is that okay? I. But we can leave that, but we need to use those words to talk. I didn't know that this is a process. That means I knew that this is an object. Because of that, attachment was created. Due to that attachment, I felt that I got attached to this object. This is how that happened. But now, I only experience this color, like you, like everyone, like dogs, cats. I also experience the same thing because I can't experience the process of energy because I can't see that. I only see this. What about you? You also see the same thing. That's fine. But you see the same thing. But if you don't know that it's a process, while it's a process, that's ignorance. Due to that ignorance, you see or you experience objects. Then you just need to know this. That's why I told you, you have an issue. First of all, you need to understand the issue. Then you will see the reason behind that. When you see the reason, and you will be able to eradicate that reason. That reason, ignorance. That reason, attachment. That attachment is created due to ignorance, not because of the world. Therefore, don't ever say that it's so beautiful, therefore I got attached to that. That's how you normally say. She was so beautiful, then I got attached to her. Then I got married and my life became hell. Kind of thing. And she was so beautiful. No. Which one is more beautiful, ladies and gentlemen? This bouquet or this? I'm talking about these two things, not your mind. Here, when you see this, your mind is black. Oh, black is your mind. Black is your mind. And this bouquet, it's not bouquet, those colors are your mind. But apart from those experiences, now you have only energy of process here, the process of energy, and here, the process of energy. Both of them are the same. Both of them are the same. That's why I told you, ladies and gentlemen, nature is the same. When you realize this, you never love anything, you will become the love. You will become nature. Now here you can see this rupa manifest, and you don't need any person to experience it. That is, itself is the experience. Therefore, you don't have to experience this. And this perception occurs. And that is the experience. You don't have to experience anything. Therefore, you should understand that this false sense of existence happens due to ignorance. This attachment creates, or attachment is created due to ignorance. Ignorance means some kind of wrong understanding or wrong knowledge. We just need to know the truth. Know the truth, then the truth will set you free. You will see the same, but you will interpret it differently. That interpretation is the main point, ladies and gentlemen. This interpretation. Because whatever we see, that's our mind. Let's take an arahant. That arahant also sees the same thing, experiences the same thing, like you and me. But our understanding is different. One day, when you see this, you will see the same as you saw before, but you will interpret it differently because you have wisdom. You will use wisdom to interpret it. Then you won't see any object. You will only see the process. If you know that this color is created in your mind, or this color is the mind, then can't you practice that? As I told you, if you know the truth, I want you to practice. Because you have to be the truth. If this color is created in your mind, then this is only a process of energy. Apply that. Whatever you see, that's your mind. Whatever you experience, that's your mind. But apart from that, a process of energy is there. Apply that. When you see me, a process of energy is there. The colors are created in the mind, which means the mind or the process of the mind occurs. When you hear this, the sound is created. That's the mind. It doesn't come from this. Because your mind is with you, not with me. It doesn't come from my body. Do you really think that your mind is coming from my mouth? No. What about this buffer then? Is it coming from this buffer? No. The mind is created. The mind manifests. The mind manifests. That's that sound. This is not hard, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever you do, while you are doing your job, while you do anything, you can practice this. But the problem is you will forget. You will forget because when you don't have noble friends to associate with, then you will forget because other people say that, oh, this object is so nice, so beautiful. That's how you always heard. But when you come here, you hear something. You something different. Perhaps when you come here, if you talk about objects, of course, then again you don't have noble friends here as well. Because a noble friend is not a person. When the mind is with the Dhamma, with the truth, that mind is a noble friend. Therefore, we can take a same person, we can take a person, and we will have a noble friend and an ignoble enemy as well. Because when the mind associates with the Dhamma, that's Guru. That's your Guru. That's your Kalyana Mitta. Whoever he is, she is. I can't say it is, but yes. Because the Dhamma itself can't help you. The Dhamma plus the mind can help you. The Dhamma plus the mind is called a noble friend. Therefore, whenever you associate with the Dhamma, you are a noble friend. Whenever you associate with the world, ignorance, you are not a Kalyana Mitta. You are an Asatpurusha, which means you are an ignoble person. Therefore, you can be a noble friend as well as an ignoble person to someone. Therefore, I want you to associate with the Dhamma, be with the Dhamma. But when you go to your job, perhaps, then you will have I don't think you will associate with noble friends when you go somewhere. Or tomorrow, you can talk about this. Go and tell that this is not an object. Then perhaps they will give you the sack. You have to find another job, because they will definitely they will think that you are mad. You are going mad, and then you will lose your job. But the truth is this. Just imagine that when you don't have attachment in your mind, you don't have to kill yourself like this. You always work hard to earn money and all these things. You do all these things because of attachment. Because when the attachment is created, vexation is also created, ladies and gentlemen. You can't tolerate that. Therefore, to come out of that vexation, you always work. You always need money, and it doesn't have any limit. Therefore, you always earn until you die. And you will die empty-handed, I'm pretty sure. If you don't accept this, if you don't practice this, then you will work your fingers to the bone and you will die empty-handed. I'm pretty sure that. Then your life, I'm sorry to say these things, but this is the truth. And your life will be a waste. Because if you return to the starting point again, you were born because of vexation. You will die with vexation. Isn't your life is a waste? You got married because of attachment, because you saw a being. You are still a married person because you see a being. Perhaps you want to get married because you're seeing a being. You try to buy unwanted things. Unwanted means, no, actually wanted things. You want, but not necessary. You always spend money to buy things that you want, not that you need. I don't have to name them. If you go and check your wardrobes and all these things, you will see. That's your life. That's why I always tell you, go to your shoe cupboard and worship, because that's your life. You spent your life earnings to buy those things, and you bought and you kept there. That's your life. You had to, because you didn't have a serene mind. Because when you see objects, you always get attached to it. That's why you bought it. I had that thing before, but I don't want anything. That's why I'm telling you. I practice the path. I talk about myself, but this is not about myself. This is the Buddha's. This is about the Buddha's disciples. I want you to become a Buddha's disciple. If you practice this, then you can become. You don't need this robe to become the Buddha's disciple. Practice. When you start seeing processes, You won't experience attachment. I'm not saying that I have done this completely, but if I feel anything different, I practice the path. I always practice the path, and if I feel something different, because everything should be the same, because this is a process of energy and this is also a process of energy. But if I perceive these two differently, that means I forgot to apply the Dhamma. That means my mind was not with the Dhamma. That means I missed my Kalyana Mitta, because I am the best Kalyana Mitta to myself. Therefore the Buddha said, Atta hi attano nato kohi nato parosya. You are the only person who can protect yourself. Therefore, if you don't help yourself, no one is there. Then if I miss the Dhamma, then I will see two objects. Then I will see that, oh, this blue color is so nice. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, when I see your faces, if I feel that, oh, this gentleman is so handsome than the other one, that lady is so beautiful than the other one, then I got shocked. I always get shocked, and I start practicing the path, because that can't be. I'm getting mad. That's how I feel. But look at you. You don't have these issues, because tomorrow you have to go to your job and earn some money and eat this. Can you see the difference between our lifestyles? When you see beauty, you will be happy. When we see beauty, we'll be shocked. Because that can't be. If you see a ghost, tell me, how do you feel? Won't you be shocked? When you see a ghost, that can't exist here. Okay, tonight, Superman comes to you. How do you feel? And talk to you. You are not sleeping. You won't be sleeping at that time. Superman will come to you and talk to you. How do you feel? Then, won't you think that you are going mad? I feel the same, because nothing is beautiful in this world. Nothing is ugly. Nothing is different. Everything is a process. Everything is a process. If you can separate your mind from these objects, try to separate your mind from these objects. Not objects, actually, these processes. That if you can't do that, then this will become an object. If this becomes an object, attachment will be created. Then you feel that you will, or you get attached to it, then after that you will associate with it. From today onwards, try to see the truth. Take the mind away and try to see the process of energy in your mind. And try to see that everything is the same. You don't have to chant, everything is the same, everything is the same, everything, please, please, God, please, please, please. You don't have to do all this, and that's why I told you, I'm going to help you. Not I am, actually, we are. We are. Mahasangha. We are going to help you to be God. If you have fear, you need someone to protect you, to help you. If you are afraid of death, you will plead for your life. We help you to come out of that situation. We are going to make you a strong man, a strong person, which means a strong mind. When this disease, attachment is a disease, when this disease manifests in the mind becomes very soft. Soft, and it becomes like, actually, it becomes like a liquid. It gets attached and starts saying, I love, I like, I want, and start crying as well. But if we can get rid of attachment from this, remove attachment. Remove means if we can stop the process of attachment by understanding the truth. Because we know the cause of attachment. The cause of attachment is wrong understanding. That's it. Then, let's assume that you don't have your 4 limbs. Can you practice the path? Can you practice the path? Yes. If the mind is created, you can do that, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, don't ever think that you are too old to practice the path. And don't wait for that as well. By thinking that, oh, I'm too young to practice the path. Because we can practice the path when we are in our 80s. You don't need. You only need the mind. You don't need the body. Because you want to know. That's it. Just to know. Just to understand this. To understand, you need the mind. But if you have pain, if you have a painful body or something like that, then you won't be able to understand this. Because you had to focus. But you don't have to practice one-pointedness again. You don't have to look at this and try to focus your mind onto something, some point. Now you can see that actually they are useless, but I'm not saying that. I just told you. Because I don't want to insult anyone's teaching. But that's not the Buddha's teaching, I'm pretty sure. This is the Buddha's teaching. That's why I want you to understand, and I want you to say that this is the Buddha's teaching. With your experience, you had to say. Therefore, experience it. And with your experience, you can say that this is the Buddha's teaching. Therefore, let's practice. I will give you a week. I will give you a week. Within that week, you have to practice this, because next week when I come here, perhaps I will talk about something else. Because we practice every day, therefore we have a million things to say. But we only talk about the same thing. Because do we have 2 truths? No, there is only one truth. Therefore, whatever we talk about, we only talk about the truth, but we will take different examples, different ways. This is not the first time you came to know the cause of attachment. We have been talking about that. Due to ignorance, attachment manifests. Can you remember that? Yeah, we were talking about that. And we have been talking about that. But this is a new way to think. Therefore, whatever you see, try to separate your mind and the process of energy. Try to separate them and try to see in your mind about the process of energy. Not through your naked eyes, through in your mind. Try to see that energy and the process of energy. Now, when you see this television, you can see colors. But these colors are your mind. Therefore, take them away. Away means separate them. Then try to see energy that comes from this screen. Again, don't use these. Use your mind. Because that's the truth. If you don't believe this, go to a scientist and ask from him. Then he will say. Then these colors are your mind, and some kind of energy emits from this television. Then this television is not an object, it's a process. That entire process is called television. Therefore, television is not an object, television is a process. See the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Because these things the televisions and those screens came to your life and they became your life. You always sit in front of a screen and see these colors, and you always believe that those colors are in the television. That means you always practice wrong knowledge, wrong understanding. Then how would you attain Nibbana? But we will use the same situation to come out of this pit. Use the same thing and start practicing. In your office, perhaps you work in front of a screen, then start applying the Dhamma while you are typing or while you are working. When you read a book, try to apply the Dhamma. While you are reading a book, you can apply the Dhamma, because when you read a book, you will see letters. Those letters are not in the book, on the page. Letters are created in your mind because letters are colors. Colors are created in your mind. That means those letters are your mind. These letters are your mind. Whenever you see, it is created. Close your eyes. Can you see these letters? Open it. Now you can see. While you were closing your eyes, were they here? No. But this process of energy, which means this dye, which is, this is a chemical. We use chemicals, but they are invisible because they are processes of energy. They were here. And it is very active. This process is very active. This process is very active. and it uses energy and manifests. That manifestation has been occurred, and gradually it will be faded away. Which means the accumulation of energy will be decreased. That's why if we keep this until next week, when you come back, you will see light colors. A light color than this. It fades away. Because it's a process of energy. It's not an object. It's not fixed. If it is an object, it should be the same. I'm not talking about this color, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about the pigment. There's a pigment. It has a chemical structure as well. This is a chemical. Carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, those things. It's a chemical. It's a process. Therefore, whenever you see letters, you should understand that that's your mind, but those ink, that ink is there. Ink means the process of energy. Whenever you look at the book, the mind is created. Therefore, letters manifest. When you close the book, how many letters are there? Apart from this pigment, how many letters are there? None. When you open the book, letters manifest. Letters means those colors or color. That color manifests. That color manifests. That is your mind. Then practice. When you go, you practice. Whatever you see, you practice, because whatever you experience, you can practice. Try to separate your experience, which means you try to separate the mind from the process of energy. Then you will see the truth, and you will see the same nature wherever you go. Then, will you practice? Try your level best. You can definitely attain Nibbana, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to practice. That means, I can say that you can definitely attain Nibbana if you help yourself. But this is the only help I can give you. Then we all come together and we discuss the Dhamma and we preach to the Dhamma and preach to you, and we help you by creating all these things, and you also donate things, and we create the 4 basic requisites, and we have created all these things. Now you have to come and practice. Then if you don't do that, I can't help you. We have all the things that we necessary to attain Nibbana. We have the Dhamma. We have noble friends here. We have the basic requisites, 4 basic requisites, whatever necessary, not whatever we want, whatever necessary to live. Then we have all these things. Actually, we are lack of only one. What is it? That's you. If you come and stay here and start practicing, that is complete. Sasana is here. Sasana is not these buildings. Sasana is taming the mind. Therefore, try to tame your mind. That is sasana. That is Buddha's sasana. That is Buddha's advice. That is Buddha's teaching. He didn't expect anything from us. I can understand that. Even I don't expect anything from you. Then how comes the Buddha? Because when you realize that, when you realize the Dhamma, and you won't expect anything. We will have a free life without expectations. That's the respect you can offer to your teachers, to the Buddha. Try to become an arahant. Try to have a serene mindset and live happily. If you don't feel that, I think you are lack of merit. Earn merits as much as you can. If you feel that, no, I can achieve my salvation next year. If you try to postpone these things, then actually you are lack of merit. I understood that. Before I thought that, no, you are, can I use a word? I thought that you were a fool. But after that, I realized that no. You are not a fool or anything. You are lack of merit. Because we all know that hetum paticca sambhutang hetubhanga niruchyati. When causes are there and effect manifest. If I want you to attain Nibbana, will you attain Nibbana? No, because your Nibbana is also an effect. Therefore, there is no point in having a wanting for you to attain Nibbana. Therefore, I stopped that. Before I had that wanting. And I always think that no. Because of the lack of merit, of course, you don't have that mindset to attain Nibbana. And you don't have that necessity to attain Nibbana. Look, I'm not going to compare you and a dog, but I'm going to take a dog as an example. There is a dog. If there is a dog, if I think that, I really want this dog to attain Nibbana, will it? Will it attain Nibbana? No. Why? Because it doesn't have enough merits, ladies and gentlemen. So as you don't have enough merits. Therefore, earn merits. If you can't finish this in this life, perhaps next one. Now I know the truth. Therefore, I don't blame you. But I always encourage you, try to earn merits. I'm not saying that you are unmeritorious or you are unlucky or anything. You will realize one day. Because we have created everything you need to practice the path. It is so hard to create a temple, to build a temple. It's so hard. Every day we work on that. But we do this because you need a place to associate Kalyana Mitra, associate with Kalyana Mitra. Therefore, we need a place to practice the path. That's why we build these things. This is so hard, ladies and gentlemen. When you go out, you will feel how hot The environment is. But over there, people are working. They build things for you to understand, to practice the path. Therefore, you have everything. But the problem is, you don't have yourself. Think about this. Take courage. Start practicing. Somehow you need to. Otherwise you will fail. If you can see the Dhamma, you just need to understand and practice. Understand and practice, that's it. You don't have to work in a paddy field. Then it will be very hard. You just need to understand. Earn some merits and understand. Earn some merits and understand. Because earning merits will help you to understand the Dhamma. Because when you earn merits, you help someone. You help someone to come out of vexation, or not come out of vexation, actually, to reduce vexation. When you earn merits, actually you help someone to experience relief. Then whatever you give will return to you. Therefore, when you give sukha, sukha means perhaps happiness or luxury, or let's use sukha for that. When you give sukha to someone, you will get sukha back. Nibbana, paraman sukham. Nibbana is the greatest sukha. That's why we ask you to earn merits. Earn merits as much as you can. Then you will have that mindset to protect yourself. Otherwise, I'm sorry to say, you will be like that thing I told you. It's a failure. Because it goes to the starting point again. What about you? Let's practice. I'll see you next week. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all.